Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it, as usual, in joining me. Wanted to let you know that I'm still here. Hi Kelly, hi Elizabeth, hi Rob, and everyone else that is joining. I wanted to talk about the boys here for the people who are not aware, because there are still people who are not aware of our boys' story, because obviously it's hidden from many of you, and even when I do live feeds now, the story is still hidden. My feeds are still being shadow banned on Facebook and on YouTube. So I want to tell people of the story. My journey began on the 26th of January 2018 when my son Josh, which is him, there's George, there's Harry. My son Josh, age 16, and his two friends, George was only 16 and Harry was only 17, were murdered here on the streets of London by the driver of a vehicle who deliberately, not accidentally, drove at them. And two other boys. CCTV showed categorically there was no loss of control, and as I've said before, even the collision report written by a Met officer stated he never lost control. Thank you, Kelly. Hi Pat, hi Hazel, and everyone else. Thank you for joining me. So it showed how much the police lied from the moment of this happening. I realised in the fog of those early days, well actually 4 days in it was, following what happened, that the police were ignoring their duties as constables, and instead of investigating was engineering a massive cover-up, not just to us and our families and our friends, to the whole of the country. This was the start of my journey to find out the real truth, a truth denied to us, and real justice denied to those three boys. Our boys were betrayed by cowards, people. They're cowards. All of them have aided and abetted their murders. This shows our boys were the victims of police criminals, as well as those at the wheel of that weapon. Now, if all your rights are taken away to bear arms, what weapon is there left? A vehicle. The commanders and the lower ranking ones, two of them, were denied life-saving treatment. Protocol was deliberately ignored. Now, the protocol on our boys, it was gold-paged, and there is something called the golden hour. All emergency services are taught that preservation of life is paramount where there are seriously injured patients at a scene. The golden hour is a universally acknowledged system. Now, this is something you can check yourself online. Like I always say, research everything, including what I say to you, because it's very important that you recognise the truth yourselves. Very important. So it's a universally acknowledged system that synchronises different rescue services to increase an injured patient's survival of chances by up to 85%. This response is fundamental in the Fire and Rescue Service Manual, which all firefighters are trained under. Hayes Fire Station, that is on the same road as the incident that happened to our boys, on the same road, had all three units available. They were 17 seconds away from the scene, carrying life-saving oxygen and expertise, yet they were held back from attending at the most critical time. They was actually called at 9:27. They was held back. Now, anyone with common sense knows that the remit of the fire service is cars for spillages, anyone trapped, in case the car's going to explode, or anything else. And yet they were held back. Despite 999 calls. I have listened to numerous calls, and so have the other families. And instead of automatically sending the nearest available appliance by default, incident commanders left my offspring and George to die, as George and Josh did not die instantly like they told us families. There was actually a boy at the scene that come over to George's dad and said that he thinks George is going to be all right. And that wasn't the case. Now, us families have had to listen to the numerous calls, and the calls themselves were answered by the same woman. Now, don't you find that strange, that calls were answered by the same woman? And that is because our boy's case was gold paged. And if you look up what a gold page response is, you will find many answers. Answers that they didn't want you to know. That in a gold page response, all calls get diverted to Lambeth. Now, why in this so-called accident, as it was portrayed to us by the police and to you, would they go gold page our boy's incident? And in those calls, this woman gives wrong instructions to the caller on each occasion. The call handlers are meant to be trained in giving the correct information on medical responses to a caller. Then why does she respond in giving an incorrect medical instruction to a caller that potentially could have aided in the death of George? Because that's what's happened. That's what happened in these calls. For over 3.5 years, I have walked the streets, having meetings and urging you to do your duty, Met Police. But you don't. You just try and ignore me. To all those constables acting as officers that know the truth, yet choose to show no courage, you need to speak out. You need to right this wrong. Can you live with the fact that more have died or are being abused and will continue because you turned a blind eye? For what, a pension, a promotion? Because it's only the bad that get promoted, and we all know this. Or is it because you fear? Do you fear more for yourself than your own children's lives? Because no one is immune to what happened to our boys. As you all know, it's not an isolated case. You expect me, well, the Met does, they expect me to say nothing, to shut up and go away. Is that what you'd do, Met Police, if it was one of your children? Would you shut up and go away? You then treat me like a criminal, paying people online to attack me, in the hope that you will divert people away from me. You get people to call me a racist because they were Afghans in that car. How dare you? You disgust me. You're a bunch of no good cowards, all of you. You probably always have been. You think that you're powerful when you stick that uniform on. And that's the only thing that makes you feel powerful. Your fancy dress. When really you're weak and you need that uniform to help you feel not weak. You need to tell the truth, but the truth does not fit into your institution, does it? You can try and put people off me. You can lie about our boy's case, but it does not affect me. Because I don't fear you, Met Police. Better put my glasses on or I won't be able to read anything. I don't fear you, Met Police, and I don't fear walking alone. I've been lucky enough to meet many decent people out here who have become friends, and many rotten eggs that sell their souls and lie that you pay. But like I said, I don't fear you, and I don't fear walking alone. So continue with your dirty tactics, because I don't fear them. Thank you, everyone, for listening, watching, supporting, like you have done for over 3.5 years. It'll be 4 years in January. Absolutely, Vera, common purpose trained bullies. Well, we detest bullies. I've never liked bullies. And I always taught my children to stand up to bullies. And that's what they do, and that's what I do. Never surrender, people. Never surrender. And thank you, everyone, for joining me.